when building out a pull plan in Hoylu, some of the steps consist of, jumping into our palette here. You'll see I can open and close this palette. You can see that it is relatively simple. Teams are able to easily adopt these processes, jump in here and start planning almost immediately. So one of the first steps would be, so you might want to establish your immediate swim lanes. So you can easily do that, So I can easily drag and drop swim lanes here. You'll notice that I have areas, So I could also call them zones. I might want to call them floors. So this might be something like area 2, We can just focus on that. We can also color code these, So we can make this one blue, make this one orange. And that might be, again, the first step to establishing your pull plan in Hoylu. So I can click on a milestone. I can select an individual color, and I can drag and drop my milestones onto the board, So we're working backwards here. So I've added my milestone. This might be my first one, And this might be, final project milestone, So that might be the milestone that we are trying to hit at the end of the project. Now, I've seen other teams where they also, you can add as many milestones as you need in this project. And so I might add something simple, like a mini milestone, It might be mini milestone 1, mini milestone 2, so little accomplishments along the way that we're trying to hit. So what I'll do is I'll click this plus sign and I'll select my individual trade. It might be something, again, like electrical, And we might have a process like rough in, or a task like rough in electrical, So I can add that rough and electrical task. I do also have a few other options here, I have a link that I can connect anything web-based. A lot of teams will add like Procore, RFIs, or submittals in this area. You could also connect to, like I said, anything web-based, so SharePoint, Google Docs, that you can add that information that might be associated to your task. So for now, I'll add Procore. I can spell here, procore.com. So again, just adding that simple website to make it even more efficient. Then when we get into description, this is where we can add information on materials, We might have predecessors or specific details on the project, We can really get descriptive here, You can add as much information as you want. It's only meant to help the project team, So and one thing to mention here is, yes, I'm creating these, I'm the admin in this project, but you will also be able to have your entire project team invited into Hoylu and create their own tasks. And we're looking at these tasks here, and we can start putting them on the specific days that they're actually going to happen, So I know that rough and electrical is going to happen, from June 6th to June 7th, and then I might have that hang drywall that's going to run from, Wednesday through Friday. So I can visualize that as a team, We also might notice that there's some information on the task, I can click here and go directly to Procore if I wanted to. And what we can do next is start creating dependencies between our tasks. Now we could do that, originally when we're doing our pull plan, we could create connections that way first. And it is very easy to do that. So I know that this inspection might lead to our pizza party, So I can create that dependency that, hey, we're not having that pizza party until the inspection is done, So if something pushes out, we do have this functionality where it does highlight it red, So that's just one example, I'll show you the example where maybe we're looking at the week, We have our 2 weeks open here. This might be our look ahead, We're trying to plan out those details, and we can create the connection between rough and electrical and drywall. So I might create this arrow, create that dependency, and I can visualize that basically this is a start to finish relationship, saying that electrical needs to finish their work finish their work before drywall gets started. So we do have that one relationship, and if the task does push out, that's where we do have the red highlight. However, we realize that there are other relationships that you can create. There might be a situation where there's a lag, where rough and electrical can get started, drywall might follow somewhere behind them. And I can actually jump into the task. You'll see this dependency icon, This shows downstream or upstream dependencies. And so I can visualize that. I can jump in here and I can actually resolve these sorter dependencies if I wanted to, right? And then create that kind of situation where there's a lag, or even a situation where there might be a start to start, right? So we do have different relationships that we can create here. So there are a lot of different things that we can jump into.